I've always believed that family is built not just by blood, but by the small acts of respect we show one another. So when my son Daniel brought home the woman he planned to marry, I welcomed her with an open heart. I wanted her to feel like she wasn't just joining a family, but being embraced by one. Her name was Camille, elegant, poised, impossibly charming on the surface. She was French, born and raised in Lyon, and she carried a certain refinement that Daniel seemed mesmerized by. I'll admit, I was impressed at first too. She had a warm smile, perfect posture, and the kind of confidence that made any room feel small around her. But people often forget one thing about me. I lived in France for nearly 10 years in my youth. I speak the language fluently, something I never bring up casually. Not because I hide it, but because it rarely comes up in conversation. Daniel knew, of course, but it had been so long since either of us had spoken about it that it had probably slipped his mind. And Camille, well, she had absolutely no idea. When Daniel asked if he could bring Camille over for dinner so we could get to know her better, I agreed instantly. I cooked all afternoon lamb roast, garlic potatoes, fresh bread, and a chocolate tart, wanting everything to be perfect. When they arrived, Camille stepped in with an air of subtle superiority that I brushed off at first. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe I was misinterpreting. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. We sat down for dinner, and conversation flowed politely, at least at the start. Camille complimented Daniel on his promotion. Daniel complimented Camille on her recent art exhibit. I asked questions about her family, her work, her passions. But each time I spoke, I noticed a flicker in her eyes, a tiny roll, a faint smirk, a shift of her shoulders as if suppressing annoyance. Daniel didn't see it. He's always seen the best in people. Halfway through dinner, Camille leaned a little closer to him, speaking in soft, smooth French. Mon amour, ta mère est tellement démodée. My love, your mother is so outdated. I froze mid-bite. Daniel laughed lightly, unaware of what she had said. To him, it probably sounded like affectionate whispering, but to me, it was sharp, dismissive, and deeply disrespectful. Camille continued, her voice quiet but not quiet enough. Regarde son style, mère cette table. C'est comme si elle vivait dans les années 90. Look at her style, even this table. It's like she lives in the 90s. She gave a soft laugh, the kind only meant to be shared between two people, but the kind that stings when you understand every word. I kept my face neutral. I didn't want to react too soon. Maybe she was testing me. Maybe she assumed I was too old, too simple, too foreign to understand. But she wasn't done. When I served the dessert, she whispered again. Et ce gâteau, il manque de finesse. This cake, it lacks finesse. Then she added the final twist of the knife. Je ne sais pas comment je vais supporter tout ça quand nous serons mariés. I don't know how I'll tolerate all this once we're married. That one hurt, not because she insulted the food or the house or even my clothes, but because she saw me, the mother of the man she claimed to love, as an obstacle, a burden. I took a slow breath. And then I decided something. I wasn't angry. I was disappointed. So disappointed that I felt a calmness wash over me. When dessert plates were cleared, I looked directly at Camille and spoke in flawless French. Je suis désolé si mon style et ma maison ne sont pas assez fins pour vous, Camille. I'm sorry if my style and my home are not refined enough for you, Camille. The color drained from her face instantly. Daniel blinked, confused. Mom, you speak French. Oh yes, I said, still looking at Camille, quite fluently. I continued softly. Et pour quelqu'un qui pense passer mon fils, vous manquez cruellement de respect. And for someone who thinks she will marry my son, you lack a great deal of respect. Camille dropped her gaze, hands trembling slightly. She opened her mouth, but no words came out in English or French. Daniel looked between us, speechless, as understanding finally dawned on him. What did she say?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I gave Camille the chance to speak. After a long, tense silence, Camille whispered, "I didn't mean it. I was nervous. I was trying to impress him to seem funny. Insulting someone in a language you thought they didn't understand isn't humor," I said gently but firmly. "It's character." Daniel exhaled deeply and leaned back, stunned. He looked hurt not by me, but by the woman he loved. Camille reached for his hand, but he quietly pulled it away. For the rest of the evening, she spoke very little. Daniel asked if we could talk privately after dessert, and Camille excused herself to the living room. When he and I were alone in the kitchen, he sighed. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "It's not your fault," I said, touching his arm. "But you deserve someone who respects your family, someone who values kindness, not appearances." He nodded slowly, eyes clouded with confusion and sadness. "I need to rethink things." Camille and Daniel didn't break up immediately, but the relationship shifted. The trust Daniel had placed in her cracked in a way that could not easily be repaired. A few weeks later, he came to my house alone. "We ended it," he said quietly. She apologized again, but I just couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't respect the people who matter to me. I hugged him, proud of his strength. And though the whole experience was painful, it taught me something valuable. Respect isn't shown in grand gestures or fancy words. It's shown in the small moments, especially when you think no one is listening. And Camille learned that sometimes the walls really do have ears, and some mothers understand far more than they let on.